he was making save after save, and then all of a sudden it just seemed to kind of collapse on him.
Let's talk about this game tonight. 6-1, the Stars beat the Calgary Flames. You know things are going well when the puck is going in for Sam Steele. And this one reminds me of a little bit of luck of the Adam Ernie one last night, Luds, as they opened the scoring. At least they didn't have to chase the game. Last night they went behind in Vancouver. 8:44 into the hockey game, Sam Steele makes it 1-0.
Yeah, again, it was a little soft in that zone, I thought. And here's what everybody was wondering about was it going to be offsides? And you can see Kadri here, number 91, actually stops on this play. Well, we're not going to see it because it's not live. Anyway, you can clearly see here that Jamie is straddling that blue line when the puck goes across. So all is well and good, which is why the game continued on. And again, for me, Matt Duchene, eyes, vision, we talk about it, and here comes Steele into that empty spot. This is where, when I look at the Calgary team tonight, look at the holes in here. Look at the holes in the middle of the ice. But that being said, Duchene gives him the perfect pass, no one around him. And then you can, what is the smart part about it is he elevates it a little bit. So he gets his paddle tilted a little bit, does Sam Steele, and then it ultimately comes in. It goes between the defenseman's legs, but it was a good start for Dallas and get him on the board with a quick one.
So Sam Steele scores his 9th goal of the year in his 61st game. He's been available in every game so far for Dallas. Duchene and Ben the assists. 66 seconds later, however, Morgan Frost scores, I think, an even prettier redirection.
Well, I think it was self-defense because it was Blake Coleman that threw that one. Blake picked it up. Coleman picks it up on the wall, and it starts here with a little bit of a turnover. And I think Robo here probably wanted to put the puck in or should have put the puck in. He tried to, maintain control. It gets poked off his stick, goes the other direction. No big deal, but then it's Coleman that grabs that puck on the right wing side and throws one to the front of the net. And what I have here, I had Wyatt circled here. I think Wyatt needs to probably stay home. Labushkin's here. Bichsel's on his way back. So Frost ends up standing up here all alone. And the pass that Coleman threw to the front of the net, I'm not sure if he meant for it to get up as high as it did. It was a couple feet in the air. But here you can see, I like the way that Frost puts that leg out, because if it hits his leg, it's still a goal. No kicking motion there. But he does get his stick on it, and it just finds a little lane here, and no chance really for Casey. This is just one of them that just finds its way in.
I think it's going wide, right? So
it would have gone wide.
That's why Casey doesn't get it, because normally you think, that one's going to hit his blocker before it gets there, but it's going wide. It's such a good play.
Frost gets his 13th of the year. Blake Coleman and the Giant, Adam Klapka, get the assists. So it's 1-1, and you're thinking, oh, boy. Then, Luds, to your point, we started to notice the holes in the defense, because this wasn't a goal, or I don't think you guys broke this down, but Wyatt Johnston was wide open at the top of the crease when it was 1-1 for a redirection. Dustin Wolf made the save, but nobody
in sight
covered Wyatt Johnston, which seems like a poor defensive decision.
Well, I'm thinking you should have that number 53 on every other board in the league would have that number circled, because he is in fuego.
Well,
that's hot.
Speaking of being on fire right now, Matt Duchene sets up Jamie Benn with a silky backhand sauce pass.
Yeah, and it's really hard to fathom how he even sees him. But I talked to you guys about this in the beginning. What we need to put something together here about faceoffs, and Matt Duchene recovering his own pucks off of faceoffs. So he just has a nose for it. He kicks it back out to the point. But then there's also Sam Steele, a big part of that line. Look at what Sam Steele does here. See, he lets this puck go. It comes around the wall. Instead of playing it, he creates a little space for Duchene. Somehow Matt Duchene knows exactly where Jamie Benn's stick is, and Jamie does the same thing with his leg. He creates a little space, keeps that stick away from him, and then this one finds the short side. So, but again, a perfect pass on his backhand from Matt Duchene, and Jamie hits it right away and finds a little crack there.
It took a few minutes to get going. I thought the energy was great in the building right away, but then a penalty. Oscar Beck called for holding the stick 2.5 minutes in. And that was where we had not one, not two, but 3 grade A's in a row. Natchez, and then Makar scores the goal.
Well, yes. And, we talk about the structure and how we think the structure has been good. And they're missing a guy here or there. But Wyatt, again, with the structure, and Wyatt, and then it's Rupe Hintz is down here to the left of Jake or behind Jake. And so there's just this big hole, and It's the passing lanes that aren't taken care of. And so this puck comes across and there's a big old lane and it just misses Wyatt Johnston's stick here. And if he ends up being a little bit lower, that doesn't happen. And then Hintz gets tied up because he's down in front of Jake. And so, but this is the way that Dallas likes to kill these things. And then I look at this and it's hard for me to believe that Jake can see any part of this, especially when you've got a right-handed shooter and you can see where Hintz is. And I'm trying to show here what Jake sees, and all he really sees is a 24 in front of him. And then this puck is actually in the net when Jake moves his right arm. So, which tells me he wasn't able to pick it up. And you can see, how he's just kind of guessing, basically, because when Hintz goes down, he takes up most of that room. But it was a good play by Makar because he's shooting against the grain.
May I ask you, I know we feel awful that Roope Hintz picked up what looks like an injury, and I don't know if we'll even get an update on it tonight. What'd you think of the way he tried to block that shot?
Well, he's protecting his head, so there's nothing wrong with that. Again, it's different. See, and again, my opinion there, in that angle, I can still hear Eddie. I can hear Eddie screaming at me.
And Belfour for those uninitiated.
We take the bottom of the ice. That way, the goaltender can see over the top. And as long as you go down, whether you lay on your belly or you want to go sideways and lay on your shoulder, you take up either 8 inches or you take up 12 or 14 inches. And so basically it's going to come, somewhere from their stomach and up. And it's the bottom line is if you lay down, he's got a clear sight of when the puck is being released.
Well, even though the Stars got off to a good start physically, then they take the penalty, they give up the goal. Makar scores. And amazing. This is, again, we talked about the pregame show. They're the 32nd ranked power play in the league. They have not been great, of course, as that's the case. And that Makar, surprisingly, is not one of their big power play goal scorers, even though he's such a shooter. It's McKinnon, it's Natchez, it's, Nelson has a bunch of power play goals. I think it was 8 for Nelson, if I remember correctly, before tonight, 8 for McKinnon, and 7 for Natchez, right? I may have gotten those backwards because I couldn't just use my computer to look it up. But with that, Makar only had 2 coming in. One of them was on a 6-on-4 early in the season. So technically on a 5-on-4 power play, he only had 1. This was his second.
I look at him as
Is that surprising?
No, I look at him similar to Heiskanen.
They're
distributors more. I think they all defer to McKinnon mostly. And why not? I mean, the guy's got over 100 points already. So I just think that that's what they're trying to hit over there. Now that they've got Natchez, now he's got another option. But again, obviously Makar, smart player, recognizes the situation. He's got a screen set up for him, and he decides to let one loose.
Well, coincidentally, a guy who hadn't scored a goal in 27 straight games, but piling up assists, Miro Heiskanen ties it with a power play goal for the Stars as he finishes one off from Robertson and Johnston at 7-11. And we're back to square one, tie hockey game.
Yeah, it was nice that Miro didn't defer here because he had some space and time. This is where, look at all the open ice ahead of him. And so Miro's got his head up. But what you can't see in this one, we'll see a couple shots after this, is really the play is made by, this is the first shot. And again, here's Roope Hintz in front of the net, takes the eyes away, can't see this one, misses the net. That's the first attempt. I like it how, he takes the shot, Heiskanen takes the shot. But then what happens here, this play for me, it's really because of Matt Duchene. When he comes in here and he bumps into Taze, and it's just an innocent, trying to fight for your ice. But when he bumps into Taze, what happens is Taze ends up sliding over to his right. The shot that Miro takes, again, a ton of space for him to shoot. He shoots, it ends up hitting Taze on the way in. And that's what deflects off of his chest somewhere, and it beats the goaltender. So, but again, if Matt Duchene doesn't come in there and stays on the perimeter or looks to get one of them kind of, wave your stick at it, this goal probably doesn't go in because the goaltender sees the whole thing. But because he bumps into Taze and then it hits Taze and goes in, and it just kind of trickles over the top of his head. So good job by Matt Duchene. And I don't even know if did he even get an assist on that?
Nope.
I don't think he did, but those are the assists that go unnoticed.
Well, the Stars extend their power play goal streak to now 8 straight games with that one from Miro Heiskanen, ties it up 1-1. And then, Luds, I really liked what happened next, which is Dallas hit the gas, and they went full throttle on the Avalanche in the rest of the first period. Esa Lindell had a really dangerous drive-by tip play. Blackwood made that save. But then Wyatt Johnston scores a beautiful shot after a long sustained possession in the offensive zone, they were able to outchange the Avalanche, keep going, and then Wyatt picks a corner through the. I mean, you'll break this down. This is a very pretty goal from Wyatt.
Yeah, and I think he really recognized. And again, Wyatt's a smart player, but once Wyatt comes in and he picks up what happens here, and we can't show you the whole play because apparently somebody's head got in the way. But what you would have seen is Wyatt comes off the bench, and that's what gives him the space to come in here. Ultimately, he picks it up in the corner. Recognizes once he picks it up, he's got some space to just come out, which he normally does. He takes up that space. And then he's using one of the Avs players in front of him. And I got a shot after this. It'll show you his eyes know exactly where he's going with this puck. He's going to use him for a screen, shoots it right between the legs. And again, Blackwood doesn't even have a chance at seeing and picking this thing up. Blackwood might have even got the tip of his glove on this a little bit, possibly. But then Wyatt just does what he does when he gets into that area of the ice.
Through the wickets.
Yeah.
Perfectly in the top right corner of the net. And it's his 34th goal of the season, which... double checking real quick because I thought so. Ties Jason Robertson for the team lead in goals. Well, one of the big talking points was Tyler Myers playing his first game as a Dallas Star after being traded from Vancouver, playing with Lian Bichsel. And Luds, you have some things to show about the way the pair dynamics have worked.
Well, I mean, the first shift that we saw with them together, and here they are. This is their first shift together. And it was nice because I immediately went, we're going to see a little bit of this. Well, it starts out with Bichsel, and normally we see Bichsel come over, and he ends up finishing his guy right here. Myers comes in, goes down behind the goal line. He's going to finish his guy down here. He lets them squeak out, but he lets them squeak out not going behind the net into the corner. So I think they started out with that kind of being physical. I'm sure they talked about it. Said, listen, we're 14 feet tall between the two of us, and I don't know, 400 or 500 pounds, whatever they may be. So let's make sure people feel it. But sometimes here's what happens with Lian is he wants to come in and he gets a little too aggressive. And when he does that, now all of a sudden you end up having both of your defensemen behind the net or behind the goal line, and then ultimately there's some space that cracks here, and I think that's something that definitely going to get fixed and reined in from Lian. But you want him to be a physical guy, but he just has to pick his spots, and you have to understand where your partners are and where the dangerous areas versus taking yourself from a good spot to a bad spot.
The reason why we showed that in that moment was because it kind of showed itself in the second goal for Chicago.
Yeah, well, it was actually both of them. And Myers on the wall, and you can see, I believe this is Teravainen that's on the wall, but Myers goes in here. He doesn't really have the proper spot, and he just rolls off the back of Teravainen. I believe that's who it is. I'm guessing here again, but I believe that's who it is. And then now when this play comes down to the goal line, this is what I'm talking about. This is now you're the defenseman. You know where your partner is? Well, he's hung up above the top of the circle. Lian goes into this pile, gets a little bit tied up, and then ultimately Teravainen, I believe, is the guy that passes this puck out to the goal scorer. And so if Lian holds his ice there and just lets his forward do the work, maybe it buys time for Myers to get back into the play. But he doesn't. He comes in here, and then ultimately I think this is Beck that has to come down in here. That's what opens up the space because Beck has to come down here because that's where Bichsel should be. If Bichel's there, then this play isn't open in the slot like this.
And Renzel scores. It's 2-0. The collision behind the net between Oliver Moore and Colin Blackwell that led to the chaos as Teravainen plays it out in front didn't look good. They were all tangled up. Moore left. Looked like he was grabbing his right knee, which was not good to see. Blackwell hobbled as he got up, but he was literally out there for the next
face-off.
Yeah. He seemed okay. Yep. I don't think Moore came back in the game. So that's not good news for a very promising young center for the Blackhawks. They have a lot of young guys on their team, but he's one of those guys that they're hopeful for a long time. So that was tough to see. However, Luds, a guy who you wouldn't necessarily expect to be offensive suddenly is because Nathan Bastian scored his 6th goal of the season, and he just had, now counting tonight, 3 in his last 5. Kind of on a heater.
Well, just another guy that understands what his role is and where to be. And again, what he does is he gravitates the net. What I like about the whole start of this play is when you play against a team that likes to collapse, you want to get the puck from low to high as quick as you can, and that's exactly what Oscar Beck does. He gets the puck here, nice little bounce pass off the wall, and you trap 5 guys down below the faceoff dots. So ultimately, puck comes out to the point. Lian gets his head up. He takes a little space, and then this is when Bastian comes to the front of the net. And again, I like the way that, and the reason I show this is defensemen, again, try to get stick under stick and lift it, and I think Bastian has a lot to do with getting this away. He puts himself in a good spot, and it's another one that hits the stick and hits the shaft of his stick, by the way, and then a fortunate bounce into the net. But again, for Bastian, it just seems like every time he's in the lineup, it's like every 2 or 3 games he gets an opportunity. They're not pretty goals, they're not tic-tac goals and highlight goals, but they're just blue-collar goals.
Yep. Trying to not make a really inappropriate joke about a couple of shafts, but
I kind of did that for you.
You did. 2-1 Bastian. That's how the period came to a close. Stars with a massive lead in shots, 13-6. They didn't necessarily translate those into a ton of great scoring chances. They had lots of chances, but not a lot of high dangers in that first period. But boy, Luds in the second, did they ever, as they kept chugging along. They had 2 power plays, one in the first where the first unit didn't look great. Roscovian had a couple of good looks. Then in the second, Wyatt Johnston had a great opportunity right at the crease. He did the thing you talked about where he kind of curled around and went in, but then he shot it and he just got under it and skied it right over the crossbar from a very, very acute angle. But then you've got Bork on a 2-on-1 from Wyatt, huge save from Soderblom. Blackwell had 2 good chances. Again, the Chicago goalie was really, really sharp. Casey DeSmith had to make good saves against both Frank Nazar and Ryan Donato. And so you go to the third period, it's still 2-1, but after 40 minutes of play, the shot totals are 2-1 and the chances are 2-1, and it just felt like everything but the score was in favor of Dallas.
Well, you mentioned their goaltender. Soderblom is the reason that this game was what it was.
Yes.
I mean, especially early, first half of the game, he was excellent. I mean, he was making save after save, and then all of a sudden it just seemed to kind of collapse on him.
Well, let's go to the third period because it took very little time in that final frame and maybe this is the thing you always talk about is get an early goal. Well, it happened inside the first 42 seconds. Instead of having the period start to get away from you and chasing and then things getting a little nervy on the first shifts, Dallas ties the game.
Yeah, I think it's key because you're at home, number one, and the opponent is going into the room going, man, we're lucky where we are right now. And then all of a sudden you get that early one. But again, with the pressure, you come in, makes a little play, pick up a puck. Maverick here picked the puck off from behind. This one here, this is how this play actually started out. I kind of laughed when I saw the replay of it. Nils comes down behind the goal, and he's actually trying to make a pass back out, probably short side where he's coming from. But then all of a sudden somebody slipped a net in there, and somehow Nils didn't know it was there, and he just drills the puck right into the back of the net. But it worked out because now end up, and Maverick ends up with the tech. But this is all about the forecheck. Take time and space away.
There's our boy Bunting.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden in comes Mav, and look at, again, the way that they want to allow people to come to the front of the net, and Mav takes up the space. And then you get a bit of a reward here. You get a bit lucky, but big deal. Nazar's on his way back, and it ultimately hits him in the glove, I think it was, and then it just kind of bounces past Soderblom.
Off the post on the left side from the Bork backhander, off Nazar and in. And so Maverick Bork gets the goal, which is his 13th of the year, ties the game right away. Stars get another power play. At this point, Chicago had not had a man advantage. This was their third. And after really struggling to get goals against this very, very good Chicago penalty kill, it's Ritzy Ritz that cracks the armor. We thought for a minute it might be Maverick Bork, and Bork may be the one that actually propelled this one in the net, but Ritzy gets credit for it.
Yeah, again, it's about the way that they want to kill penalties, but really what happens is with Wyatt understanding this bumper position, and you find a hole in the middle of the ice somewhere because of the way that they want to kill. So there's that big hole there. Ritzy gets the puck, and again, this is what their defensemen are doing. He didn't fall down. He's trying to take that cross-ice pass away, which is what they want to do, apparently. That allows, people to come to the front of the net. Ritzy does this, and there's Bork, and then here it is. This is Ritzy Ritz's stick that's going to hit this puck first. So Mav and him both ultimately swing at this puck at the same time. And I don't know, Mav's stick may have hit Ritzy to help him put this one in the net, but it was going in anyway. So ultimately, Ritzy Ritz gets the goal.